All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are unpacking the Nervos Network. Now, this is a blockchain with a philosophy that's, it's completely different from most things out there, and we're going to get into exactly why that's so important. So here's the plan. We're going to start with the big idea behind Nervos, what makes it tick. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how transactions actually work. From there, we'll connect the dots to its huge focus on the Bitcoin ecosystem. And of course, we'll cover all the latest news, take a serious look at its security, and wrap up with what's on the horizon. Okay, let's just dive right into the heart of it. I want you to imagine something for a second. What if a blockchain wasn't built for 1,000,000 calculations a second, but for storage? What if its number one job was just to be this incredibly secure, super flexible vault for our digital stuff? Well, that's the radical idea that Nervos is built on. So the core of this whole thing is what they call the Common Knowledge Base, or CKB. Now, instead of thinking of it like a world computer, like Ethereum, think of it more like a public hard drive, but for value. It's a base layer that's designed to do just one thing, and do it perfectly: securely store digital assets. Everything else, that gets built on top. And this right here really shows you the genius of their layered approach. You've got layer one, the CKB, which is the secure foundation. It's the vault. All the fast-moving stuff, the high-speed transactions, the complex smart contracts, that all happens up on layer two. And this separation, this is their answer to the classic blockchain trilemma. It's how they try to be secure, decentralized, and scalable all at the same time. Okay, so how does this storage-first idea actually work on the ground? Well, you've got to throw out what you know about Ethereum, where you have accounts and balances that just get updated. Nervos uses a totally different system, and it's called the cell model. So yeah, forget accounts. Picture the CKB like a massive, super secure warehouse. And this warehouse is filled with these little digital boxes called cells. But here's the really cool part. These boxes aren't just for coins. They can hold anything. Seriously, any kind of data, any kind of asset you can think of. That flexibility, that's the whole game. And this is where the economics of the whole system get really, really clever. The native token is the CK byte, right? And it's basically your ticket to own storage space on the network. One CK byte literally equals 1 byte of storage. It's like you're buying a tiny plot of digital land on the blockchain. So if you want to build something, create one of those cells, you've got to own the land it sits on first. Now, this is super important to understand. You never actually change a cell. What you do is you take an existing one, you basically consume it, and then you create a brand new one that has all the updated information. Think of it like this. You're not just editing a sentence in a document. You're creating a whole new version of the document every single time. And if that sounds familiar, it should. It's a lot like how Bitcoin's UTXO model works, but it's generalized to hold any kind of data, not just money. So you have this really unique Bitcoin-esque architecture. What's the game plan? What do you do with it? Well, for Nervos, the answer is simple. It's all about Bitcoin. They are on a mission to basically give superpowers to the original blockchain. Their goal really is to become the main stage for Bitcoin DeFi, or BTCFI as everyone's calling it. They're building all the tools you need to bring smart contracts and, real scalability to Bitcoin. But, and this is the crucial part, they're doing it in a way that extends and respects Bitcoin's original design. They're not trying to replace it or fork it, they're trying to build on top of it. And this is the actual toolkit they're using to make that happen. You've got the RGB++ protocol. Think of that as the factory for making new kinds of assets on Bitcoin. Then there's the fiber network, which is basically the superhighway for instant, cheap payments. And finally, the UTXO stack, which is like the toolbox for developers to build all the cool apps. It's really a complete package designed for Bitcoin's future. All right, so the team behind Nervos has definitely been busy shipping. Let's take a quick look at what they've accomplished recently and what's coming up next on the roadmap. Yeah, they've been making some really solid progress. There have been major infrastructure updates announced at conferences. You've got the community voting on things like connecting to other chains with the Rosin interoperability protocol. And then there's this, deploying quantum-resistant security. Now, that is a big deal. It shows they're not just thinking about today's threats, they're looking way, way down the road. So, what's on the immediate horizon? Well, first up is launching a new DAO to give the community more say in governance. Next, they're rolling out an upgrade to the fiber network to boost those Bitcoin payment capabilities. And then, of course, the long-term play, just continuing to expand that whole BTCFi and Web5 ecosystem. Okay, so for a network that's all about being a secure foundation, you have to put that claim under the microscope, right? Let's take a look at an early security audit to see how things looked from the start.
So way back in 2019, just before they launched their mainnet, the project got a full security audit from a firm called Least Authority. And this gives us a really transparent, independent look at the state of their code right at the beginning.
So the audit actually found the code to be of pretty good quality, but it did flag a few significant issues that were marked as unresolved in that 2019 report. Things like using a brand new hash function that might have unknown vulnerabilities, the potential for a malicious contract to escape the virtual machine, and allowing scripts in languages that could introduce sneaky bugs. Now, it is absolutely critical to remember this was back in 2019. The project has had years to work on these things, so these might not even be issues anymore. But it's an important snapshot of where they started from. All right, so let's pull all this together. We've got this unique storage-based architecture, a laser focus on supercharging Bitcoin, and a record of steady development. So what's the big picture here? What's clear is that Nervos is playing the long game. They are betting that their methodical, security-first, proof-of-work foundation is the right one for Bitcoin's long-term growth. It's not about quick wins. It's about building something that lasts. I mean, when you're implementing quantum resistance, you're not just thinking about next year, you're thinking about the next 20 years. And that leaves us with the final provocative question. Its approach is novel for sure, and the focus on Bitcoin feels perfectly timed. But in the incredibly competitive world of blockchain infrastructure, is being different enough to win? That's the real billion-dollar question, isn't it?